So last night I'm watching this movie Free Guy, and I realized that there's a lesson that is resonating with me that I feel like I need to share. And most of you that do YouTube videos and and you're trying to empower and enlighten others, there's a moment in which you realize that there's a lesson that you need to share, and that motivates you to jump on and create a video. Well, that lesson last night was watching Free Guy. I think Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, great movie. Awesome movie, a lot of fun. It has a lesson to show that we don't have to be stuck in the reality that we're in, and we just have to have that identity that allows us to overcome the fear of taking that next step and leap in order to enter into the life that we always want. So it's interesting to me that guy in this movie, Ryan Reynolds, literally wakes up every single morning and does the same routine all day, every single day, right? Wakes up, says hi to his fish, goes to the same coffee shop, grabs the same cup of coffee every single day, meets up with his friend Buddy. They walk to work, and there's chaos going on in the streets because it's a video game that they're basically living in. They work at the same bank, they go through the same robbery every single day. As soon as the robbery starts, they both know to undo their belts with their guns and everything, get on the ground, lay there, and they just talk through it because they are just so used to it, right? But what's interesting to me is that the whole point of the movie is to identify the fact that Ryan Reynolds, or Guy in this movie, just has that sense that there's more to him, to a better life, that it doesn't have to be so robotic, and he doesn't have to be this role player that he is in this movie. Now, he doesn't identify at the beginning of the movie that he's literally not real living in a video game, but as the movie progresses, there's this woman, Millie, who is an actual human player who's playing a character in this video game. And she resonates big time with Ryan Reynolds, or Guy, who's playing in this movie. Ryan Reynolds. So there's a point in the movie where Ryan Reynolds, or Guy, I gotta stop doing that. We'll just say Guy. You guys just know who Ryan Reynolds is. So he's laying down at the bank, right? And he sees Millie from a distance as he's laying down as the bank robbery is going on, walking across the street. And there is a trigger moment where Guy just he's drawn to her. Whether they're going to be romantically involved in the future, whether there's a reason that she is going to be seated in his future, he knows that there's something there with her, right? And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there are so many moments in our lives where one thing can come into our life and it triggers that signal that there's more, that you are capable of more, right? I know for me, a lot of times where I am trying to evolve myself in wanting to help others and figuring out a way to make that happen. Where I go on YouTube one day and I see, some videos that are being posted. I'm like, man, that's awesome. Like, that message was fantastic. How did this person get started on this? Like, it triggers that paradigm shift in my thoughts that I really want. It takes me to move in that direction of creating and being in a moment and in a lifestyle of allowing that creativity to form. I can't do that when I'm staying stagnant in a life where I'm telling myself, like, "Yeah, why would I do that? I'm not good enough. Like, why would anybody care what I have to say? And, am I ever going to get any likes or subscribers?" Like, that focus on those outcomes is the worst part of it all, where you just have to kind of just be in that moment, but realize that I saw a video, or I saw a posting, or I saw something as I'm walking down the street that just got me thinking, man, there's got to be more. Like, I know I'm capable of more. If this person can have this, why can't I? What? And it gets you thinking outside that box of discomfort and that box of limiting thoughts, that makes you realize that there's got to be something else. And that's exactly what was happening to Guy in that very moment. So, Buddy, his best friend, is laying there while this bank robbery is going on, and while Guy is seeing Millie walking across the street. And he's identifying the fact that he's drawn to her. He wants to go talk to her. But she is also what they call a sunglass person, right? So if in the movie, if a character is wearing sunglasses, they are untouchable. right? You can't really talk to them. You're not on the same level as them. You'll never be like them. Like, don't even think about it, right? And I think about our lives, and that's kind of how we think about people that we maybe not idolize, but we look up to, that have all these things that we want, but we feel like they are untouchable and will never be at the level of them because of our own limitational thoughts. And that limitational thought is something that Guy had to get over. So as Buddy is like, Guy's telling Buddy, like, dude, I gotta go talk to her. Like, she's walking away. I gotta go. A bank robbery is going on. And Buddy is literally sitting there saying, we don't do that. We don't talk to sunglass people. Like, we're not on the same level. She's not gonna talk to you. You can't talk to her. Well, Guy didn't listen. He knew there was more. And he knew he needed to act. And if he didn't act, nothing was ever going to change, right? The definition of insanity, right? Expecting something to change without changing anything. So Guy stands up in the middle of this bank robbery, literally walks over the desk or whatever it is at the bank, goes up to the bank robber. The bank robber has the glasses on. He's a sunglass person, and without any fear, just takes the glasses off. And that was it. And what happens next is Guy puts the glasses on, and he sees a whole world that has always been there, but he could not see it because he didn't have the sunglasses on, right? There's points, there's money, there's like these little energy boxes where they can like re-up with their energy and heal themselves medically, just like you see in video games, right? Like Mario Brothers or something. He puts the sunglasses on, he sees it all. And I thought that was the perfect scenario to look at the fact that we are in this life of lack and limitation that we initially think. But until we move past that and we want to see and we want to open our eyes to a reality that is beyond anything that we could ever comprehend, but we know it's there and we need to start moving toward it. Well, once you start moving toward it, you realize that reality is now. That reality is real. Like you can live a life of abundance. You can have anything truly that you want, but you have to act on it. You have to look at the scenarios, the opportunities that are right there in front of you and not have the fear to take that step toward it. That fear is going to hold you back. The fear of failure, the fear of thinking you're not enough, you're not good enough. Like that's not meant for me. Why do we have those thoughts? Why do we have those fears? Where did they come from? Right? Well, they came from something or somebody or a certain situation. Maybe it was a teacher, or a professor, or a coach, or a friend, or a parent telling you at a younger age that look, that's just not obtainable. Like this is who you are. This is the social status you stay within. But that's not true. It's not true. And Guy knew it wasn't true. So as he's seeing this, new lens of life, and he's got this complete paradigm shift that there's a reality that he now is engulfed in. There's money coming his way. There's opportunities coming his way. Like the world is his oyster at this point. He can do anything that he wants. But the problem with that is he doesn't know exactly what direction to go. Like he doesn't know what's going on, right? It's all learning. And I think in our own lives, like once we have the sunglasses on, right? Once we learn about the elements of, faith in God and prayer and the law of attraction and the law of assumption, once we learn all these things, we still have to continue to learn and develop and grow in this lifestyle. It's a continuation. It's like when you plant a seed, you can't just not feed it and not water it, right? Just because you put the glasses on, that can't be it. There's got to be more growth and potential. Like you got to keep moving toward things. And so Millie told him, "Be like, look, if you want to gain more, you gotta do things." So what I also thought was fascinating about this movie is Guy was a good guy, always was a good guy, and just because he got that power, the whole movie is about robbing people and taking things and doing things that are unethical in order to obtain money and power. And he refused to do that. And when Millie told him, like, these are the things you have to do in order to get the things that you want, he said, no, I don't hurt people. I don't do those things. And she found that fascinating. And he rewired the entire way that this whole life was supposed to be, where you're supposed to do bad things in order to get the things you want. He started doing good things. He started helping people that were being robbed, that were being put in these situations in this video game, where he was the good guy, right? He was the good guy. He stuck to his ethical values, even though now he has all the money and power that he could possibly ask for. And that worked in his favor to where he now became like the person that everybody in this world started looking to when things started to kind of unfold toward the end of the movie. And I think that's a really valuable, powerful thing to think about is that even though you start moving in the direction toward the things that you want, you don't want those things to start changing you in a way that now you don't even identify with who you are anymore in a positive way. Like you don't want money to turn you into something, that you don't want to be. And I've heard it before, and I can't remember who said it, but I heard before, and it made total sense that if you're a good person, right, and you get money and power, you're just going to be a good person with money and power. But if you're a bad person and you don't try to change in order to become a good person, or do right by people and do what God wants and love and help others along the way, you're just gonna be a bad person with money and power. And a lot of times we've seen it so many times where it just doesn't work out. Like it all comes down to the point where like Diddy's a good one, right? Got money and power, and it all collapses at some point. It all collapses because it's not being used for what it's meant for. Guy used his money, his power, everything for good, for the purpose of what it was meant for. And that was ultimately to save his world in the end of this movie. And that's another part of the aspect I want to get to when I was watching this movie. And it got to a point where Millie finally had to tell him, you're not real. Like you're a video game character. Like I live in the real life because she's just a character in this movie. But she finally had to tell him, be like, "Look, you're not real." And the reason she was telling him this because the creator of this game was going to get rid of the whole thing, including every guy and everybody in it. And so, at the end of the movie, Guy's trying to save his world and everything. But once Guy realized that he was not real, it really started hindering on him. Like it started really wearing down on him. And he started asking, well, what's the purpose of all this? If I'm not real, what's the purpose of any of this? Right. Now, when Guy put on those glasses and his best friend Buddy, he wanted Buddy to see what he was seeing. He wanted Buddy to experience what he was experiencing. And I think that we all can understand that when you start changing in a way that makes you feel so good, and the things that you are trying to attract into your life that are positive, and those things start happening, you want to share that with other people. You want your friends and your family members, and you want everybody around you to know about it. I mean, that's why we end up doing these YouTube videos, because we want to share these experiences. We want others to seek out what we have found and experience it for themselves. Buddy didn't want to do that. Buddy was too scared. Guy had a pair of sunglasses that he wanted Buddy to put on because Guy wanted Buddy to see it. There's more. There's more to this life. We don't have to be robotic. And Buddy was too scared to do it. So anyway, at the end of this movie, Guy's having a really tough time with this whole just absorbing this whole concept that everything is fake. So he goes to Buddy, and because Guy had been shifting into a different energy than Buddy, they kind of separated throughout this movie a little bit. It was hard for Guy to stay on the same level as Buddy, and unfortunately, that happens in real life too, right? As soon as you start realize that things are going to start manifesting your way, sometimes there's loss. Sometimes things start removing themselves that aren't aligned with your path. But what I found interesting is that later on, as Guy goes to visit Buddy at his apartment, they're sitting down on the couches, and Guy divulges to Buddy, be like, "Buddy, like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is, I don't feel like we are, like, this isn't real. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's the purpose of all this?" And Buddy said something I thought was fascinating. And I think this is the most underrated part of the movie, where Buddy's like, "Look, whether or not this is all real, this moment right now, me and you, it's real. I get to sit here and I get to be with my best friend and help my best friend and talk this out with my best friend." Now, I don't remember exactly how the verbiage went, but it was something along the lines where Buddy was trying to tell Guy, be like, "Look, this is real. This moment right now, being in this moment is absolutely real. And being in this moment to help my best friend, I mean, that makes it all worth it to me." That was huge. That was huge. I mean, there's so many amazing parts of this movie that are just like really good lessons to, to absorb and learn. But I thought that was so powerful because Buddy was so right. You got to be present in the moment. You got to be grateful for what you have right here and right now. And gratitude goes in such a long way. And so it's a really high frequency of an emotion for us to get on that might have been the most powerful part of the movie because if Guy didn't get that from Buddy, Guy might have gone in backtracked in the direction, but Buddy was so adamant about being in that moment with Guy and just being blessed in the opportunity to be there with his best friend and talking through it. That was just so powerful, right? And so sometimes I think that we have to realize that just because we are on this journey of a better life and positive energy, and just because people aren't aligning with us doesn't mean that they don't have something that we need too. We shouldn't just, avoid the people that don't have the same energy as us because we are trying to stay on a certain track. We have to understand that there's value in every single person that's all in this world. We are all connected, from the same source, and that is God. So we can't just leave them behind because you never know what lessons we can learn from them, right? You always have to be open minded to opportunities, right? And they say like, if you're trying to manifest a new job or more money, like don't think about the outcome. Don't worry about the outcome. If you try to think about the outcome, you're not going to allow the opportunities to come your way. Like if I'm thinking I'm going to make all like these millions that I'm trying to manifest are going to come from me doing football scouting, well, if I'm so focused on that, maybe God has a different plan of where this financial freedom is going to come from. And because I'm so focused on that, I'm not going to be able to see the opportunities that He's trying to provide me because I'm so focused on what I think the direction should be. And I think that could be detrimental to our growth as humans, as souls. I we really need to identify the fact that there's value in what everybody can bring into our lives, not just what we can bring into theirs. And so I thought that was so powerful. But I it's so cool to me that at the end of the movie, they're living this life of abundance on this in this world that without Guy taking that step and overcoming the fear and what everybody was telling him, including Buddy, like you're not on that level, that's not what we do. If he didn't take that step, none of it would have ever happened. He took that one step. He got off the ground and shifted his entire reality just by getting off the ground. Like that was the step needed. And as he got off the ground, everything else just kind of just started happening the way it should have happened. And so it's not about the movie, it's about the lesson that you can learn from this. And the lesson is when the opportunity is there, you got to take action. It's being presented to you. And it's being presented to you in an act of faith that you will have faith to take that step without the underlying thoughts of failure and you're not worthy and this isn't for me and this is not what my life is meant for. I'm meant to just do this stagnant thing. Like, no, you're not. There's more. There's so much more. You just have to act. You have to move toward that energy. You have to move toward that opportunity. And if you don't, you will stay stuck. That is a fact. You will stay stuck if you do not act. You don't have to work hard, but you have to move toward the opportunity. You have to tell yourself that you're not going to allow fear to overcome any obstacle that you can actually that comes in your way. That you can move past it. You can, and you will. You will. Because if you act, God will provide the path for you to get there. But you have to stay faithful and you have to be in an act of faith because you can't do it alone. You're not going to be able to do it alone. Like it's hard for us to do things as humans and thinking that we can have control over things that we just don't have control over at all. Right? The outcome is not the important part. It's the journey, it's the development, it's the progress that you're going to make as a human and as a soul to get to that end point that makes you become that person that is ready for that end point. if you're not ready for the end point, you can't just go from point A to point B. You can't be in the same mindset of that lack of limitation and expect the outcome of something that's much greater than what you are right now. That will never happen. You have to go through the journey. You have to go through the hard times. You have to go through the lessons. And if you think about some of the hardest things you've probably ever been through have been the most influential in your life to make you improve as a person and as a soul. And so, anyway, I found it fascinating. I had to jump on here and do this video because as these things are coming to me and they're resonating with me as being powerful and something I need to share, I wanted to make sure I shared it. So first off, go watch Free Guy. It's a really good movie. And second off, understand that you are so much more. There's so much more to this life, but you have got to overcome your fear of what could happen if you fail. You have to get over the limiting beliefs, the lack and limitational beliefs that you might have, and realize that you are worthy of everything in this life as long as you act on the opportunities that are going to be presented to you. Move toward them. Do not allow fear to stop you from doing it. All right. I love you all. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.